All right, so it's a little bit different setup than I've probably ever had for a video, but it's gonna be cool. My name is Evan Strong, and I am the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, a company that is so much more than just a clothing company. We are founded on the knowledge that we are allowed to know that we are all universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Jesus Christ, okay? So we talk about here the skeletal system of the body. We have podcasts, we have free information like this. Our official website is InTheImageClothingCompany.com. It is, as of today, the 27th of September, under construction, but that's where you will be able to go always to find In The Image Clothing Company media and information at all, meaning all the information that we have. It's a lot, okay? We're not just a clothing company, we are a clothing community, a community of people, like-minded individuals, understanding that we can't tell our bodies what to do. That goes for I or he or she, meaning just all humans ever. We cannot tell our bodies what to do. We do not design them. So we make very bold claims here, but we speak on truth, how we should not have to stretch unless something very major happens. I personally, being the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, do not stretch. And that was something that I wasn't able to do. In the past, I used to stretch and stretch and stretch to try to get to normal, and now I never stretch, and my body is just the way that it was designed to work, okay? We're getting back to our center line, natural, the way that we were designed to operate. We recognize our own individual things and situations, deformities, surgeries, amputations, whatever it may be within your own personal body. We recognize those things and we accommodate for them if and when, okay? But yes, along with saying we should not have to stretch, because we should not within our own situations, we also don't need to be working out or exercising to get up to a certain capability level, because our bodies were designed to operate, okay? Again, we have our own individual things, times and places, but yes, so I, being the founder of this company that is In The Image Clothing Company, since I even founded the actual company, I was making videos and I had prerequisites that are and will always stay the same, just to allow the body to have a chance to operate in modern 2024 or going forward, right? That is lacing your shoes with the technique found anywhere you find In The Image Clothing Company at all, right? That technique is within there many places. That technique with the shoelaces includes tying them evenly over toward the inside, right? Just tie your shoes even. That's a big thing, and if you tie your shoes the same direction, the entire body traveling up will be out of balance. No say of anybody's, whether it's I or any other human to ever exist, okay? So, lacing the shoes that way, tying them even toward the center, and removing tags from the shoes, usually in the tongues, but anywhere within the shoes, up through the entirety of all the clothing you ever wear. I personally have made videos on every single one of the tags within their locations that they are placed in clothing in modern day, and what they do to alter the natural workings of the human body. I mean, look at this flexibility. I'm saying that out of like, it's shocking to me, because I do not stretch, okay? So, point being, a lot of things within clothing are new within the past decades. Tags protruding within clothing, it didn't even exist, a few decades back, and then ever before then. And synthetic man-made materials, they didn't exist until quite recent, around the same time. So a lot of these things are different, but a lot of these things are problems that have been around for as long as humans have been around, right? I mean, anytime you're putting anything on your body is then holding that thing up, essentially. But yes, we will also, as In The Image Clothing Company, have clothing available. I call it minimal clothing, but we're going to have really cool designs as far as fabric cuts. But we will have no logoing, no branding ever at In The Image Clothing Company on the exterior of our clothing. Never. It will not ever be that way. That's why I call it minimal, right? Yes, 100% natural materials is what it will be made out of, always, because the body is natural. This is actually a tree branch, and this is a tree branch. That's how my phone is being held up, sandwiched between two tree branches. I like nature because the body is natural. So let's mesh it with natural materials within our clothing, because because the body tries to reject man-made things, but when they're placed on it, it can't, okay? We have no say in that. So, yes, we cannot tell our bodies what to do. This video is going to be big. I want to kind of figure out what I need to say to clarify what I mean by that, because I've made an entire video on the natural workings of the natural human hand, and yes, most all of us, a lot of people don't, but most all of us have hands, and so you might think, well, I have a hand, why are you telling me how it works? I went into in great depth in that video the fact that we have a lot of flat things in modern 2024, and the hand has a natural radius, okay? And that's almost entirely gone until fixed in most all humans nowadays, at least if they have access to a lot of man-made flat things, okay? So mine was very much altered, and I talked about how the hand is essentially the shoulder, just like how the ankle or foot are essentially the hip, right? Because they have to stem from somewhere, and right? And I go into how everything plays into each other, okay? The body works as a whole, and anytime there's any kind of imbalance within the body or something that's not working correct, something else and many things have to compensate. They just have to, because we have to continue to stay vertical on a globe, pulling us directly straight down toward its center, so we have a natural center line. And, right, the body has to continue to try its best to work. So we'll be doing things in ways it's not designed to try to just continue to operate when there's something inhibiting its natural workings. So, what I want to talk about in this video is the pinky finger, okay? Yes, specifically one finger, the pinky finger. And I have, as I said, talked about this thing as a whole here that the pinky finger is attached to. And yes, but the pinky finger by itself, I've discussed how straight down from the arm is the pinky finger. It's no other finger, it is the pinky, okay? If you lay your hand flat or your arm flat on something, the pinky is straight out. Not any other finger. People get misconceptions. It is the pinky, okay? But a lot of that is because of having tags within the shirt. It will alter the way the body works, right? Lots of things like this that I've gone over and gone over and gone over. Undisputed truth is what we speak on here at In The Image Clothing Company. But also, yes, shoulder seams have to sit behind the tops of the shoulders, and ideally right at the very edges, okay? Universal human design, we don't get to choose that. I do not get to choose that. It's not my opinion. It's not In The Image Clothing Company's opinion. I did an entire video actually this morning, kind of following up on a video that I pretty much touched on it, you know, as much as would really need to be a few months ago or a month and a half ago, but this morning I definitely went to very, very great depth on just shoulder seams in shirts, okay? It's not my opinion. Universal human design, okay? Yes. Okay. I think it goes without saying, but if you haven't heard of In The Image Clothing Company before, we, like I've been saying throughout this video already, we discuss universal truths about the human body across the globe. The things that we talk about, any human on any part of this earth can try within their own clothing, and it can and will and does always apply to their bodies, okay? Because our bodies, skeletal system-wise, operate the same. I mean, if you're missing part of your body, then you obviously aren't going to be doing things with that part of your body that you don't even have, okay? But, right? So, we don't beat around the bush here. We don't try to accommodate people for their beliefs or anything, because we don't have opinions and beliefs that we're pushing. We are pushing, and I don't want to use the word pushing, but we are sharing universal truths, okay? So, the pinky finger is something that is getting destroyed, not allowed to function in the only way that it works. I made an entire video called The Body Only Has One Position. I went into that in very great depth, right? I always talk about how we can't tell our bodies what to do. You can try all you want, but then you can have fun with your foam roller and stretching routines, right? That's what I always say, because that's what happens. If we are trying to do something that our body does not do, you can push through to a certain degree, but then you'll get sore, your body will scream at you, and it will not be fun. And that's the state that most people are living in, and that I personally lived in for many years, okay? So, the pinky finger has to be allowed to have a natural radius, okay? I've shown this, but when you make a fist, you're not going to do this. You see how my shoulder like adjusts when I try to get my hand flat? Now you're like in external rotation is essentially what's happening. And I'm always talking about that natural internal rotation, right? A good neutral stance, the way that the body works. Like in that video, the only way the body works, right? And from there we hinge, we pivot, we move, we rotate, right? From there. So the point is, in 2024, things I have gone over, but this is important enough for me to make an individual video on just the pinky. We are using things that are so flat all the time. I was driving earlier, my mother's minivan, actually, and noticing that, I've noticed this recently, but a steering wheel, the radius within a steering wheel is so large. What I mean by that is the bigger you get, the less the curvature is, right? If the steering wheel of a car that's about this big, 14, 15 inches, was actually like 3 inches, now there's quite a bit of a radius there. But the bigger you get, it actually flattens out, okay? So I was driving my mom's minivan and my body working as it does, natural, okay? The way that my God, our universal living God, Jesus Christ, designed it to work, because I've allowed it to get back to that state. It doesn't want to grab a steering wheel that does this to my shoulders, my back, my neck, my jaw, my forearms, and alters the way that my hand wants to just have natural dexterity, right? And when I say mine, I mean everybody's within our own situations. So, yes, the point with showing the fist like this is because I love martial artists, okay? Not only that I fanboy over them, but that is also the case. But martial artists, I always mention gymnasts as well. Those are the two like groups of people that I usually mention when it comes to natural working bodies, right? Martial artists don't punch like a boxer, okay? But martial artists can do crazy things. Martial artists can do flips and a bunch of movements, and they use staffs and poles and nunchucks, and they have a lot of, I don't want to use the word control necessarily, but a lot of like, they're very in tune with their own body, right? I just don't want to say control, because we don't actually have control over anything, right? Again, we are under the one who created us. But martial artists, they don't punch. I mean, it's very rare to see a fist punch. Like, look at my, right? In martial arts, it's like open palm strikes, or it's like open hand, things like this, because in this kind of a position, you can have internal rotation. Like, look at my shoulders. It's very rare to see this nowadays, right? At least around here in the United States of America. Now, if my fist were closed, you hear it in my voice even, muscles bind up and things don't allow movement, right? My feet came off the ground, but they didn't need to compensate. I was just kind of like showing that it's like kind of an elevation, right? The scapulas need to be able to wrap up and around into internal rotation, something I've gone over a lot, okay? And in order for that to happen, the pinky's actually very much involved, because like I was saying, the pinky is straight out from the forearm, right? From the forearm, but then from the upper arm, I mean, you look straight down, it's a straight line. No other finger will be able to give you that straight line, just like straight out from the arm, right? So, and that's a big reason too. You think about a punch, you're kind of like doing this, right? And binding is happening. I feel it all in my collarbone. Not good, right? And you can't really punch with your pinky out. I mean, it alters, it's an unnatural thing, because also your pinky is a shorter finger than the rest. And so if you're going to try to punch, you see me even adjust my shoulder to show that, try to punch flat, right? So you're not just hitting like only a finger or two. You have to actually cock your wrist, and then there's binding here. Your shoulder drops again into external rotation, which you can see, right? Straight out, because if the pinky were up, it would look kind of like this, right? Mobile motion like this. But if you're trying to get a flat fist, when your fingers, these ones are just longer. They have nowhere to go, right? And so everything else is compensating, all in the shoulder and the collarbone, in the trap, in the neck, into the jaw, like I was saying, in the pecs, in the back, then the pelvis anteriorly rotates, goes into the feet, right? The entire body. I mean, I could really discuss it. Describe it deeper than that, but there's kind of no need for the sake of explaining what's going on. The pinkies, what I was saying is that's why a lot of times in martial arts you'll see more of like a chop, right? Or like it's like a pushing, a blocking, a lot of this open hand. Because when you close into a fist, yeah, you look like this, like you're gonna fight, but really you want to be open. Because really what you're doing when you're like boxing or like using your fists is kind of like entirely restricting your internal rotation. And entirely is a little bit of a strong word, but kind of. You can't internally rotate. You'll feel it. Do it with your own body. You'll feel all through in here binding, right? But if you allow it to open, there's so much mobility there, potentially, right? So, pinkies. Again, the point is, the pinky's a shorter finger, right? So you close, and it wants to be more like this. A natural, neutral, resting hand looks like this, okay? When people are standing, neutral, right? Shoulders in a good neutral position. Their thumbs will be pointing straight, but like rested, right? So this is like a natural resting hand. I mean, you can see how loose, but how like active at the same time. And it just, because the body only works the way the body works, right? I've gone over that again and again and again. But the point is, you can be very, very relaxed while having all of your muscles very, very, very much activated, right? We need to be in a constant state of activation because that's how the body works, right? I've gone over a lot of this, but the point is, a natural, neutral, resting hand, in order to get to a fist from here, you'd have to like kind of do this. And you look all like you're trying to be tough rather than like you're just a human being. You know what I mean? But then like that's how martial artists, they're so loose, right? I mean, my body's position, I guess, probably looks quite a bit like a martial artist, right? And I don't train martial arts at all. I love it, but I never have. But the point is, you have to be able to be loose and in a neutral position to be able to do the kind of movements that are required to like, I mean, I'm not a martial artist, though. I mean, I don't know exactly what to do, right? But yes, I mean, I don't stretch, that was the point. I mean, there is just one position the body works in. So what I'm saying is when we're not allowed to have that, again, this natural loose resting palm, look at the, it's just like a natural loose radius. If your hands are trying to flatten out, everything's trying to do stuff that it doesn't do. I mean, there's a lot that the body doesn't do that we can't tell it to, right? There really is. There's a lot that the body does not do. And that's not some kind of restriction, but it only does what it does, right? So anyway, I've talked about how there will be a lot of times a lot of excess muscle mass here because of what we're doing, holding things flat. And again, that pinky can't even grip when these fingers are pretty much the same, like very close to it. But then the pinky's like, whoop, clear down there. And so it's like a lot of times getting out of the way, and then it does this to the shoulder when really it goes in, okay? So the pinky, I mean, you can work out these muscles and stuff. I always say I do not give stretches or exercises. I never have, but I also say that a lot of times there is like a one-time release of stuck muscles or scar tissue that then, as long as you keep your body into its only working position, you shouldn't have to do again. So this isn't me like giving an exercise, but just if there is a bunch of bound up muscle in there, it can just be kind of released, right? Right. You don't have to have something. It's not some exercise. It's not something you'll have to do multiple times. You don't need a massager or a massage therapist. You just need to let it relax. It's really the muscles just get bound up is all that happens, right? So you can kind of just put pressure in there and kind of loosen it up. Again, this isn't me giving some like exercise. It's just getting it back to its normal position. And then it's just there. And then, as I've talked about many times, I mean, I did an entire video just on radiuses and how the body likes radiuses, right? I don't know if there's another S if it's plural, but Yeah, because there's a natural radius within the hand that we don't get to decide. It's radius within the arch of the foot, right? Within the body. It loves radiuses. It loves round things, the body, because things are round. You know, talk about in nature, again, the tree, it's round. I mean, there's a lot of just texture and round things in nature. I did an entire video on just how the body likes texture, right? And we don't really have a lot of these things in the man-made world that we live in, okay? But on the earth, it always is the same. And the body is pulled from the clay, right? Doctrinal, biblical, and we will return to the earth once we die, physically. And then we will go on to eternity. But again, in the podcasts, in future videos, in whatever it is, in the Image Clothing Company, we will get into a lot of gospel topics and discussions. A lot of it really will be only just discussing the gospel of Jesus Christ. Not that that's anything separate from what we do within clothing, because all that we do within clothing is allow our bodies designed by our living God to work as they do. So anyway, the point is, yes, this was important enough for me to make an entire video on just the pinky finger. Yes, I just, also, I mean, I talked about how the hand, you should be able to lay your thumb flat across your palm, and you have to have a slight radius, the natural radius that would be there in order to do that, or else it'll be like this, and you can't, right? And then also I talked about excess muscle mass, but that's within the other video. But the pinky should also be able to touch the other fingers, like the pointer finger, or this finger, or, you know, the one right next to it. You should have mobility within your hands, within your own situations, but you really should, unless you have something specific to you, right? Because there's your radius, right? And so, yes, the point is a lot of people can't even touch their own fingers together, and it's not their hand. It is what they have gone, the patterning they've gotten into because of what they have taken part in. But then also, if the arches in the feet are collapsed, you'll have stiff hands, you will, and stiff everything. So again, the lacing technique, the tying evenly it's a must. It's absolutely essential. It's not my opinion. It's the way that the foot works, okay? So, yes, natural hands. I mean, that was its own video, but the pinky itself plays into that big time. And yeah, I mean, because if you're using anything modern technology that's flat, you kind of have to lift your pinky out of the way, and look what it does to my shoulder, right? Again, the pinky comes down. It does not go up, okay? So, yes. I'm trying to just really feel through and pray through if I need to say anything else as far as this video goes. We talked about how, yes, the shirt will definitely play into that. But then also, yeah, I mean, even the waistband of your pants, I've talked about how In The Image Clothing Company designs within the clothing that we make, and the modifications that we always freely show that people can do within their own bodies, universally across the globe, and they always do and will apply. Within our designs is what I'm going to talk about, but then again, it applies for anything that you're doing within your own clothing. We need to have our waistband slightly higher in the front than in the rear and up off of the hips entirely, okay? Because if your hips are closed down, your hands can't work, and things will just stiffen up to try to compensate. As I was saying earlier, a lot of times you might have a problem in a part of your body, but it's not that part of your body that's having a problem. But what I mean is you're experiencing pain there when really it's something else, right? I mean, you have really tight upper traps because of the way your shirt fits, and your hands are going to possibly feel tight. But if you can put your shoulders in a nice, neutral, relaxed, natural position, then your hands can relax, right? I did a video actually right here, one of these trees. I was sitting on the ground, called The Problem with Specialists, right? And I discussed how, same thing. I mean, a lot of times it's not the actual thing that is the problem. I was talking about the knees. I used to have knee pain, but it was my feet and ankles, and it was my hips, because the knee is a simple hinge. And so it's the things on the ends of it, right? Just like the elbow is a simple hinge. So it's either the wrist, meaning it's the fingers, really, or it's the shoulder if you have elbow pain, tendonitis or whatever, right? It's just how the body works. So, yeah. The pinky plays into big things. I mean, even the jaw and the pinky are related. I think it's funny because kind of what I discussed in that video, the natural working hand, natural human hand, whatever it was actually titled specific, I discussed how the pinky finger is the smallest finger, but it's actually the one that is, you know, straight out from the arm, and it's, you know, a lot of your grip strength actually comes from your pinky because that's in the neutral position. The pointer finger is not at all in a neutral position, right? The pinky is. So the small things, the pinky toes, right? A nice, natural, healthy arch is the outsides of the feet, where the smallest toe is, right? Yes, I mean, and that's even metaphoric. Like, the small things are always actually the ones that are important, right? And it's not something we decide or an opinion, but it's, I mean, it's true, right? So, yes. Yeah, I mean, any of that excess gummed up muscle there, that's kind of the point of this video, because your pinky would just work unless you really had something within your own experience. I mean, well, more situation, but yes, it's something you've experienced also. But it gets into a patterning to where this is exactly what I have been doing. I'm not just like giving a recommendation of something you could do. This is actually exactly what I've been doing. Kind of put pressure there and just work the pinky. Because also, when you watch people, if you watch videos online of people nowadays, like modern 2024, you'll see people like doing this, like talking, and their pinky, there'll be like this gap. But the hand just wants to have even gaps between all the fingers, right? By wants to, I mean, it would just naturally. But you'll see people talking and doing things, and their pinkies are like this, out. When they're doing things that, you know, you'll see there's an excess gap here because we're using things that are flat. And so there really is quite a drop right here naturally when you get to that pinky. And flat things, again, it's not just the hand that gets affected, it's the entire body because of one little finger. A very important little finger, right? If something's in our body designed there, it's meant to be there because, again, our God does not make mistakes. And he made this, he designed this. I did not do any of this, right? I just am now allowing it to get back to the way that he designed it after I kind of, a lot of, you know, unintentional altering, but I had a lifetime of things that happened that altered the way that it works naturally, as do pretty much everybody, right? It's not really our faults because we wouldn't be intentionally doing that to our own selves, but we live in a man-made world, okay? As far as like the things that have been placed here by mankind is what I mean, right? So again, yeah, just kind of work it out because, I mean, this is like muscle, right? And yeah, I mean, yeah, there's going to be muscle to operate the pinky, but it's an excess amount, right? And I've talked about that, how we get into patternings to where we have excess amount of muscles. I've talked about people go to the gym and work out their quads to try to get these big muscles on the front of their legs, and there's very, very little to no strength from the front of your legs. Universal human design, I know that seems a little bit bold to people who don't know, but truly, I mean, it's not my opinion. It's the rear of the body, the hamstrings, the glutes, the calves, the internal rotators, right? The body only works how the body works. I mean, I could totally disagree with it, and it would still be the way that it is, right? Again, truth is apart from me. So, yes, in the Image Clothing Company, we discuss things that are much more than clothing, as you can tell by this video here. So, yes, if you'd like to purchase our clothing, though, when it does come time to be available, that'd be awesome, because I'm not designing clothing. I'm not starting a clothing company just to, like, sell clothing. It's just clothing. The whole intent is to take all the knowledge that I, being the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, have been able to know about what happens to the body if clothing does not fit and sit where it needs to for the universally designed, you know, skeletal system of the human body across the globe. Okay, so yes, last night we had our first podcast. It was actually just me for the first episode in the Image Clothing Company podcast. Sometimes it might just be me. Maybe even the majority of the time it might just be me on the podcast. I'm not quite sure yet, but we will have some people at some points, you know, we can have discussions with. And even if it is just me, you know, if you don't want to listen to me, then okay, you don't need to. But I do have a lot of knowledge and information about the natural workings of the body and its relationship with clothing. I talk about we're very, very bold here. We will always be, whether it's me or anybody else running the company down the line after I die. Okay, it doesn't matter who's running this company, In The Image Clothing Company. We're not going to be fake humble because that's actually more arrogant than anything else. And we are going to be very blunt and straightforward and speak out of truth within our sinful natures as being humans, okay? So, cool. Yes. Allow your body to work as it's designed. Again, straight here is straight, okay? No other finger will have a straight line out of the shoulder. Universal human design, unless you really got a deformity. And I don't mean that out of some kind of thing. Right? I mean, if your hand's not shaped like most people's, then yes, it's going to be not shaped like most people's. But, right, the pinky, very important finger, very, very important. The point is, again, just allow a radius within everything that you use. When I talked about it being a one-time fix, I mean it. Because it shouldn't get bound up unless it's trying to be used in a position it's not supposed to be used in. But we also, I mean, there's so many things we do with just our pointer fingers nowadays to where I look at the position of my shoulders, as I showed, the wrist is straight out from the pinky, right? So if you're using things with your pointer, you're kind of just falling into external rotation chronically, constantly. And also the pinky on the side of your body that you are tying your shoes toward is going to be the one more like gummed up, if you will, which, you know, the dominant side of your body. So tie your shoes even, because again, that alone, even if you are using things naturally radius, like I said, a lot of this stuff did apply thousands of years ago as well. But even wearing like sandals, right, back in biblical times and stuff, you know, around 0 BC, for example, they still would tie a knot to keep their sandals on, and they would normally tie it, probably. I can't speak for them necessarily unless we really do research to try to find out if, you know, what was happening. But, you know, if you're just trying to keep your sandals or your shoes on, just as most humans nowadays, you probably just tie a knot that's easy for you as a right-handed person. And so, no, you need to tie them even. Not my opinion. The way that a knot pulls, it's, you know, it's not me telling you something. Because if the right side of your body is being pulled into external rotation, your pinky's trying to like almost like hold your body back up into a neutral position, right? External rotation, but it's like now it does seem like your pointer finger would be straight out at that point. But no, your right side of your body, in tying a right-handed knot on both feet, is being pulled like this. So, no, your left hand would probably be much closer to normal, but we have two sides of the body and a center line on an earth with gravity. So no, it's straight out from the pinky, right? Straight out from the arm, down the pinky. Very important finger. Allow the radius, tie the shoes even. Prerequisites that I always have had and always will have, and In The Image Clothing Company, again, regardless of who it's ran by down the road, if I am no longer doing it at one point, maybe just because I'm not even physically here, right? Yeah, they will always stay the same, the prerequisites. So that's why they are what they are, okay? All right, thank you. I know that that this is a 30-something minute video, but on just a pinky finger. But the point is, again, I don't just like throw out random information. That's not going to do me or anybody else any good. Universal truth is what we discuss here in The Image Clothing Company. And so the pinky, I mean, again, it's straight. You can't do this with any other finger. I'm not even going to try because I don't want to give an intention that it could be another finger. It's just the pinky finger that's straight out from the arm, okay? And we're doing so many things that are not allowing it to be that way, okay? The only way that it works. So, thank you. Again, I'm trying to feel out. I mean, that's partially, I mean, I'm still giving information, but that's partially why I keep bringing things up, because I just don't want to leave things out and have to do like a follow-up video later. Not that that'd be terrible, but might as well say everything that I, you know, feel like I, you know, everything that I could within one video. So, yeah. I mean, because that, again, internal, oh my goodness, I got cramping in my thumb right there. Internal rotation, again, if you go straight out from the hand, in order to get internal, you potentially might even in some cases need to go farther this way. And if this pinky is really bound up into, like, again, external rotation, then not only to get even, but if you want to get farther this way, I mean, you can get pretty far. Again, I do not stretch. I do not stretch. It's been probably 6+ months since I've done a single stretch. But your body's supposed to do that. So, right? Yeah, the pinky finger. Because if it's bound up, now you're going to be over here. Yes. Okay. I think that's enough to say, but at the same time, I'm not trying to just cut this, because it doesn't matter if this was a 3-hour-long video. It's what am I actually supposed to be saying in this, right? Just praying through every second of everything, ideally. Yes. I mean, the pecs too, right? If you're trying to get your shoulders back, as I was discussing, internal rotation, that's why we have the shoulder seams sit behind the shoulders. You need this pec to be able to open, right? And if this is like abnormally altered, then you're going to have shortening in the front of your pec, and this looks very familiar in 2024. Okay, we don't want that. And also the position of the wrists looks very familiar in 2024. No, this is a natural working human position, universal human design, not my opinion. Okay, so the pinkies, important finger. Okay, thank you. I'm going to state the date one more time, just I said at the beginning, but I will close it out with it. It is the 27th of September 2024. Again, my name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Check us out. We have our official domain, like I said, InTheImageClothingCompany.com. So yeah, lots of stuff, podcasts, meetups, community, meaning that's what this is. Very big community. All of these things that I'm sharing within free videos like this, that's the point, is to share it, not so that our company grows necessarily, although that's great, yes, because then there's kind of like a central, phone almost fell, then there's like a central location to come back to, right? That speaking truth is the point, in the Image Clothing Company. But, and also I do have to make a living, so if you'd like to purchase the clothing when it comes, that'd be great. But no, the point really is to just share and spread information about, again, keeping opinions out of everything. A lot of people are trying to push things and tell you more to do, and I always say take things away. In the Image Clothing Company, we'll always say take things away to solve things. Do not pay for things or add things to your life or to the time that you have to spend to try to get your body to work the way that it was designed to work. No, no, no. We take things away, okay? It's about simplifying, minimizing, and just getting back to, again, the body that was designed for us, regardless of how it works or looks or functions or whatever in our own situations, or how we think that we want it to. Our God does not make mistakes, okay? But we are individuals, and we do have our own situations. So, the pinky. I love how long this video is, just because I wasn't planning on yeah, expecting, I guess, to have it be this long of a video just to talk about the pinky, but yeah. Also, yeah, I mean, within the rib cage, I was mentioning if you do go into external rotation to try to, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to try to describe it so much other than just tell you really what's happening. That's not me saying something, but just relaying truth. But a lot of binding up within the rib cage here, right? Because again, like I say, the hand is essentially the shoulder. I mean, yeah. But you put your hand in a position like all the way down like this. Try to lift your shoulders as high as you can, and that will tell you that your hand is essentially your shoulder. And then again, go into a good position up here, and now you've got rotation. So lots of things within the body, but the body can't do anything without the rest of it. And I mean, you can be missing parts of it, but what I mean is everything plays into each other. The body really does work as a whole. Okay, so any part of the body, no matter how small it is, I've talked about the simplest things like teeth, right? I mean, cavity filling material or whatever, I talked about how big of an experience I had with that, with the root canal in my front tooth and stuff. So there's nothing too small to affect the rest of the body, right? Again, kind of just work out that pinky, the muscle right along the edge of that bone right there. Yeah. All right. But yeah, even when holding things, I've talked about, radiuses. Keep a radius. Keep a radius. We don't want to be using things flat because our hands are not, okay? Yes. Closed hand is a natural hand. right? That's why I say internal rotation is actually a closed position, but then it allows your body to open up, right? Yeah. All right, again, I feel like there might be something else I need to say, and I'm not trying to cut this short. So, yes, here, not here, here, okay? Internal. A lot of that too, side seams on shirts, they will alter the way that the whole body works, and the pinky will almost be trying to stabilize. That's probably a big thing to say. Like I was saying within the shoelacing, the pinky's trying to, like, in a sense, I know it might seem weird, but really it's trying to like adjust for the arm, and well, because this rear tricep, I mean, all three of your triceps are in the rear mostly, but the tricep on your right side, again, your dominant side, the side you're tying the knot to within your shoelacing, the side you're probably using modern day things with, the side you're probably grabbing things that are flat with the most. The dominant side of your body, again, if you're wearing oversized clothing and the sleeve is on your hands are like trying to keep that sleeve off of it so that it can still use things without being covered by a sleeve that is too long, right? And also, if the shoulder seams, if your shirt is too big for you and if the shoulder seams are falling down, then this side of the body is trying to like hold that shoulder up, and this pinky will be really bound up and affected because all these, again, this hand is essentially the shoulder. All the muscles within the rotator cuff and into the scapula and, you know, rhomboids, trap, everything that's trying to hold that oversized shirt on, because if it is oversized, it's going to fall toward the direction that is your dominant side, reinforcing external rotation. And again, trying to hold that shirt on, look at the pinky, you know, and then you see people walking around with their right shoulder, dominant shoulder kind of forward. That's a big player into that, okay? Again, undisputed truth. I can go into stuff like this. I mean, I'm not making claims. I mean, I make a lot of very bold claims, but that are true, right? Undisputed. So, yeah, the pinky, because the tricep, I kind of mentioned it, but on the dominant side of people, it doesn't really work, right? And because their shoulder's in this kind of position. Okay, we're gonna go deep. That's why this video is so long. Also, that collar seam that's almost always on the left side, that I say is the dreaded collar seam and to not have, but I do have a modification for it you can find that makes it, you know, decent, like allowed to, it makes it so your body's allowed to work, right, with the modification that I show. Undisputed truth, universal human design. But if there is that collar seam there, you're going to be in more of this kind of position. Again, that's putting that shoulder forward, tightening this up, and it's kind of just putting your hand like this, right? Again, shortening the distance when you need to naturally be here. Need to, because the body only works the way the body works, okay? That's cool. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about things, I'm not just making claims. I can go into every, you know, not everything, but I can go into all the things that I discuss in very great depth and come at them from different angles where, I mean, yeah, there's no dispute. I'm not just saying things here, okay? In the Image Clothing Company, we'll never just be saying things. No, we are speaking truth. Just want to make sure if there's any more. Okay, within the zipper of pants, there's that little zipper flap behind the zipper, protecting your body, whether you are a man or woman, from the actual metal of the zipper. And I've shown we need to cut that little stitch that holds that flap out because it shortens the, you know, contracts, makes it smaller. The left pant leg smaller than the right, and so now if that left side is like closed off, when really that's the side people are always standing on because that's the side that's tied into internal rotation at the shoe, then this will be more like this if that left hip can't open to kind of like counteract, right? Wow. I mean, I can get into this, okay? Yeah, so natural, neutral, centered. Look at the rotations, right? I do not stretch. I do not do mobility work. And it's not about me, but it's just about the only way this has been allowed to happen is by stopping the restriction and limitations to what our God designed, which is our bodies, right? It's not about me, but it's about, yeah, I got a lot of information. And again, I'm not going to be fake humble about that. I do know this stuff in depth and well, and there's no dispute, right? No chance. So, okay, cool, yeah, the pinky finger. All right. Thank you.